Welcome to PS 234. My name is Dana Rappaport. I'm the principal, and I would like to welcome you to our virtual kindergarten tour. Today, I am going to walk you through our kindergarten and the rest of our school, actually, and give you a little bit of an overview on what makes our community such a special place for children to come to school. So you can see here is our front door. What you can't see is you can kind of see the little bit of the fly and the tongue of our frog, but we have a little statue of a frog here. And when the children come to school, it is one of the iconic pieces that you see when you come up to our school. And it is one of the first things that kids see and makes 234 so special. We have a lot of beautiful pieces of artwork, including the gates with the sailboats that you'll see shortly on our tour. And it makes our school such a welcoming place. PS 234 is a District 2 school with a specific zone designating our area. It has priority for enrollment to siblings who are already, of students who are already in our school, and to children who live within our zone. Our school zone is as follows: south of Canal Street, excluding the north side of Canal; north of Liberty Street, excluding the south side of Liberty; west of Church Street, excluding the east side of Church; and east of West Street, excluding the west side of West Street. What makes us special? We are a very close-knit community. We're a place where staff and families truly collaborate to create a wonderful program for the students, especially now. We are a school that is dedicated to providing rigorous instruction, along with developing social and emotional competency. We really care about developing the whole child. And in addition to our academic program, PS 234 believes in the importance of exposing students to the arts. So we really want to enrich the children on all fronts, both academically and also creatively. I'm going to talk a little bit about our building facilities. We are very lucky to have 2 yards for the children to play in. The big main yard with the sailboat gates around it, and also a backyard that has climbing equipment. We have a gym that just got a lighting upgrade, actually, so it's nice and bright. Our auditorium, which in non-COVID times we use for our performances, and a beautiful library with cozy spaces where children can read books, and a librarian that is funded by the PTA, actually. She's wonderful librarian, and she makes lovely book suggestions during COVID time. She's actually been doing read-alouds online when the kids are home, and that's been a really enriching experience for the children. And then, of course, our classrooms. So I'm going to give you a little virtual tour of those spaces. First up is, here's our main yard. You can see from above, and it's been resurfaced and repainted to have lots of different kind of imaginative play spaces for the children. And then here's the backyard with the climbing equipment for kids to run around and play. And even during COVID times, we've been able to get the kids out and playing in those 2 play spaces. We have physical education classes in the main yard, and then the teachers take their students out into the backyard as well for extra recreation times, and to be able to do a lot of social emotional development and lessons out there as well. Here's our gym, where we also have physical education classes. And then here's our auditorium. This is a picture taken after a 5th grade performance during non-COVID times. And the kids are just delighted. They had just done a terrific dance performance and are posing for this picture. And then here's our library. And as I said, here's this little alcove with the bean bags where they can sit and read. And it's a well-stocked library. And you can see hanging from the ceiling are these paper mache birds, which are the result. It was a culminating project for one of our social studies projects that we do. We have really in-depth studies that I'll talk about later in our presentation for each grade, where they spend a lot of time studying something in depth and doing inquiry. And this was one of the culminating activities for that. Here's a classroom. This classroom actually is set up for COVID. Normally, these tables are set up for collaborative work, but right now they are set up for each table to have one child sitting at each table so that they can be socially distanced. When we come back together again, of course, the children will be working at tables in groups of 4. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we build community very early on, starting from kindergarten. We are a responsive classroom school, which means Responsive Classroom is an organization that helps schools learn about social emotional development in children. And there are certain common practices that we use in our school that are responsive classroom practices, such as the morning meeting. And during morning meeting, we will infuse some academic practices along with social emotional practices. And this isn't just in kindergarten, this is done throughout the school. But for example, every class does a greeting. They come together on the rug in the meeting area, and they'll greet each other. They'll talk about things that are pertinent in their lives to the school community. They will go over a morning message, and in the younger grades, they'll use that morning message as a catalyst to learn words, learn new sight words, learn new phonics combinations. They might use the attendance to learn about mathematics and so forth. At the end of the day, they might have a closing circle where they also are learning about each other, ending the day, and having other sort of social emotional opportunities. In Responsive Classroom also, we are learning how to resolve conflicts creatively and and respectfully. We also are learning different tools for community building, and we take a constructivist approach to all of our learning throughout the 6th grades that the children are in our school K through 5, in the way that we introduce materials to children, giving them time to play with the materials before we use them for academic purposes, and in the routines and the structures that we give the children throughout the day. And in terms of social emotional learning, we're paying special attention to transitions. We're using something called the social story, where children are learning through stories how to handle certain situations that might be difficult for them, like when they get into a conflict with another child, how to share a tool that they don't want to really share. They both want the red marker, how to handle that, or they both want the same place in line, how to handle that. And so they would build a story around that scenario in order to learn how to get through that kind of a conflict in a respectful way. And then building predictable routines is another sort of a social emotional learning procedure that they would build into the day. And what they would do is, for example, any classroom, including and especially kindergarten, that you would walk into, you would see the schedule posted on the board. In kindergarten, that schedule would have visual pictures to go with it. And throughout the day, the teacher would move some kind of eye contact to tell the children where they are in the schedule. But not only would they have the schedule, but the way in which they build the schedule would be very predictable. So like reading is usually around the same time of day, work time or choice time is around the same time of day so that the children get used to a routine, and that helps them feel more comfortable about what to expect when they come to school. In terms of working with families, we coordinate with families well before school even starts to give them information about school and to get to know who your child is as a learner. The teachers will send home a survey about your child for you to fill out so that we can already build a partnership with you. In terms of how we communicate with you throughout the school year. During COVID, we have office hours every single day. And so if you want to hop on with your teacher, you can email your teacher, and the teacher will set up an appointment during the office hour time at the end of the school day, and will address your concern or just work with you, even if it's not a concern, but you want to just touch base with the teacher. And then during a regular school year, those office hours are usually once a week. We also have a curriculum evening, usually at the beginning of the school year, to go over the expectations of the curriculum and what each class will expect. But then also I usually do a curriculum overview for the entire grade as well. Teachers send home newsletters either once a week or once a month, depending on their preference, so that you can keep informed about what is going on in the classroom. And then one other special community tradition that we have is the class parent. There is a class parent in every class that coordinates with our PTA to be able to disseminate information that is pertinent to our school, but also that class parent make sure to create and extend community within the class by having potlucks and other events outside of school to make sure that the community keeps going. And that actually has been also very important during this COVID time. One other thing that is a huge tradition about our school is the kindergarten buddy. So in our school, our fifth graders take on the leadership position of the kindergarten buddy. Each fifth grader is assigned to a kindergartner to be their buddy for the year. And what they do is they introduce our kindergartners to the school. They do read alouds with our kindergartners. They have other activities with our kindergartners. And during the regular school year, when the kindergartners are reading in the cafeteria, they're not doing that this year, but in a normal school year when they do, they spend the first week of school eating with them, showing them how to navigate the cafeteria. It's very, very sweet. During COVID time, even for our full remote learners, they've been sending little videos back and forth, and they've been meeting with each other online. And then for our blended remote learners, they are meeting at school at a safe social distancing. So I gave you a sneak peek of that picture, and here it is. Kids doing a little activity, drawing together, but 6 feet apart. Aren't they so sweet? And what's so cute about this is that, you know, the kindergartners will remember their fifth grade buddy, and when they become fifth graders themselves, they can't wait to be able to take on that leadership role, and they invite each other to their birthday parties, which is so sweet. I'm going to talk a little bit now about the kindergarten curriculum. So in reading, the kindergarten curriculum is all about really introducing literacy practices to kindergartners and laying the foundation for literacy. So in kindergarten, we're teaching them to retell stories. We're teaching them an understanding of print concepts. Some kindergartners will come in with these concepts because children are now starting school earlier. However, not all of them do, and we don't want to assume. So we're definitely making sure that students understand we're reading English, so we're reading left to right, how to turn pages, that there's spacing between words. Not all children will know that. That where the front of the book is, where the back of the book is, where the title page is, that spoken words are represented in writing. that they know how to apply phonics to decode words, that they understand what a CVC word is, that a consonant, vowel, consonant word, like act, that they recognize high frequency words, and that they're developing phonological awareness, such as rhyming words. They're able to blend, so sat makes sat, and segment sounds. So if I have sat, I can segment it into sat. I can hear the different pieces, so I can pull it apart, I can push it together, and I can hear the syllables in a multisyllabic word. In terms of writing, in every grade, grades K through 6, we want to expose our children to the 3 main kinds of writing: opinion writing, expository writing, and narrative writing. And we expect that our kindergartners are using a combination of drawing, dictating, and emergent writing to express their ideas. And what I mean by emergent writing is they're starting to play around with sounds and associating those sounds with letters. They don't necessarily have standardized spelling yet, but they're experimenting with that. And they are encoding words by using letter and sound connections. So they're taking the sounds they're hearing, and they're associating them with letters, and then they're putting those to paper. Here is one example of a kindergartner writing at the end of the year to a kindergartner who might be coming in the next year. Dear kindergartners, welcome to PS 234. You will get a 5th grade buddy. You will do word study. Love, Sam. Now, this piece was done with an adult at home, I think, during the shutdown. So the spelling is probably better than it might be if left to his own devices. But there's Sam with his little writing. And here's another example. Dear kindergartners, welcome to PS 234. I learned so much and made a nice group of friends. I love my teachers. They are kind and funny. I love and miss my class. Love, and I can't read his last name. Leo, I think. Yes, maybe Leo. Love Leo. In math, there's a lot of work that we do pertaining to counting and beginning number concepts. So we want to count, we want to be able to accurately count and tell the number of objects that we have. We want to understand that the last number we count in a series represents the total number of objects that we have. That's a very important concept. So if I count 12 objects, that I get to 12, and that 12 represents the whole as well as the last number I've counted. I understand that each number in succession is one larger than the number before. That idea will help us with addition and subtraction. I understand ordinal numbers, 1st through 10th. I understand one-to-one correspondence, so I can I'm not counting faster than I'm saying the number of objects that I'm counting. I'm comparing quantities, greater than, less than, equal to. I understand addition as putting together a group of things. I understand subtraction as taking apart, taking away from. I'm adding and subtracting within 10, but I can fluently do it within 5. I'm collecting, I'm representing, and I'm describing and interpreting data. So I'm doing there's a lot of graphing that the teachers are doing with the kids, a lot of survey questions. Would you rather fly or be invisible? And, then tallying up the answers and making a graph of it and being able to interpret the more and the less. Decomposing numbers to 10 in a variety of ways. And I'm using addition and subtraction situations and story problems, and I'm able to model and solve and represent on paper what I'm hearing in a story problem. We are a social studies school. The school was founded on the idea that social studies was a way of really opening up the world and opening up the process of inquiry to children. And that when we teach through an inquiry-based model, it gives children the tools they need to develop critical thinking skills, understand multiple perspectives, and they use discussion and drama and writing and math to understand and formulate big ideas and ask deep questions. Here are some of the social studies topics that we are going to be doing this year. Every year it might change a little bit. It did change this year because we haven't been able to do as many trips. We like to get out there in the world, but of course, because of COVID, we are not able to do that as much. This has affected the lower grades even more than the upper grades, although the upper grades have been able to do some virtual trips too. The lower grades, generally speaking, go on a lot of experiential trips in the neighborhood, which they haven't been able to do this fall. They all have, though, started with some kind of identity and community sort of study, which links onto our racial and social justice work that we've been doing here at 234, really being proud of our identities and ourselves and our community and our school, that kind of work. And then in the spring, they are going to be trying to do some of the more traditional social studies and science work that they've done in the past. I think kindergarten is going to try to do a fish study this year, and first grade an urban farm study, and second grade the Birds of New York study. In the third, fourth, and fifth grades, the third grade is now completing their Lenape study, which is a study about the indigenous people of New York City, and will then start a study about the history of the Brooklyn Bridge. The fourth grade started with a colonial New Amsterdam study, and then will be working on an American Revolution study. And then the fifth grade has done an entire year, is doing an entire year focused on social justice. They started with an election study and then moved into an immigration migration study, and they are going to be studying women's suffrage and the civil rights movement and other movements that are connected to social justice throughout the year. Here is a piece of work from the kindergarten fish study. And what's so amazing about it, actually, at the end of each of our studies, we do have usually a culminating celebration. And the celebration is a time when families usually come into school and students take on the leadership role of sharing what they've learned with families. And it is not just a time when they're, showing off their projects and that's it. It really is a teaching time where there is an ownership over the learning and a passing of the learning to the families. And so what you see here, it looks like it's just a mural, but it actually is an interactive piece where all of those fish parts, the labeling of the fish parts, you can pull them off. And the children, the kindergarten children, would say to the parents, okay, so can you name the parts of the fish? Where do they go? And of course, the parents would either pretend to not know or really not know. In some cases, they really don't know what a pectoral fin is versus a dorsal fin. I don't know if you know, I might not have known. And then the children would explain to the parents what those parts are and what they were for. And it's amazing what the kids learn. So I'm going to show you a couple more pictures like that. So this is from Jenny's kindergarten class, and this piece shows their learning about the environment and what happens when trash is spilled into the ocean. And the children could tell you absolutely everything that they learned about the importance of keeping the ocean clean and how to improve upon that, and what it does to the fish in the ocean when garbage is thrown into the ocean. And then here's another interactive display where the kids had done an experiment about swim bladders and how the swim bladder helps fish stay afloat. And it's modeled with these plastic bottles, and the children show with the experiment how it works, and they explain it to the parents. And then this is about gills, and they explain how the gills help the fish breathe. So they learn quite a bit. I'm going to explain to you about some of our school-wide initiatives. So no matter what grade you're in, we work on social emotional learning. SEL is social emotional learning. And we have a committee this year that is dedicated to that. When we knew that we were coming back to school after the spring shutdown, all we focused on really was how to come back to school safely and how to take care of our community, how to take care of the teachers, the children, and the families. Now, though, we are pivoting back to our racial and social justice work, which we have been working on. We worked on last year, and we had done some gender diversity work prior to that. And we have really been focused on how we can infuse this work into our entire community. And that committee is spearheading this work, as is our school leadership team in revising our mission statement. One of the activities that we do in our school that helps us bring home this work is the book of the month. So there is a book every month that we read in every single grade, K through 5, where we can have discussions to help build understanding around the work. And then we do some more professional development with our staff to help have conversations with children. We also have had some work with families, and we'll continue to do that work. In terms of our literacy work, I want to point out some special work that we have in our school. One is this very unique program to 234. There are only 5 schools in New York City that have a program like this, and that is the I Read program. We were selected as a pilot I Read school. Again, we were only one of 5 schools in the city selected to be an I Read school. And what that program is it's an inclusion program where the 60% of the class is typically developing. The other 40% has children who are showing signs of dyslexia. And so the special training that the teachers have is to help children with dyslexia. And so we had amazing results last year with teachers trained in those specific programs. We also trained other teachers in our schools so that we could have a more cohesive practice. And we did take that program up to 1st grade this year. So now we have a pilot class on the 1st grade, and we started another pilot class in the kindergarten, and we are very excited about this particular program. We also have continued our work with Teachers College Reading and Writing Project, which has been so wonderful. And that is the curriculum that we use for reading and for writing, but we also have continued staff development. And just also got so much information to give to families about how to work with their children at home, which we're going to be sharing with our families in January. And we also do a lot of phonics and phonemic awareness work. We use foundations and other programs to support this work, especially in early literacy. In terms of STEM and the arts, we are very fortunate to have 2 science teachers on our staff, one who works with grades K and 1, and the other who works with grades 2 through 5. Most grades have science twice a week. Grades K and 1, excuse me, this year has science once a week, but that is really truly only because of COVID. Next year, we anticipate twice a week as we normally have had. We have laptops and iPads, quite a number of them, thanks to the generosity of the PTA. And also our science teacher on the upper grades has started a green team for grades 4 and 5, which was done through an application process, but anyone could join. And so if you apply, you get in. And they are doing some special projects. They decided what their projects were going to be with the teacher, and we should see some really fun work out of that team this winter. And this year, the PTA also sponsored 2 outside arts programs for our school. One is the Wingspan Art Theater program. Each class has a 10-week residency in grades K through 4. And then in grade 5, the National Dance Institute is going to have a year-long residency in dance. That's a long-standing partnership that we have, and we are very fortunate to be able to continue it this year. Other facts about our school. We are a kindergarten through 5th grade zone school in District 2. We have an average of 4 classes per grade, approximately 25 students per class. Of course, that could change depending on enrollment. We could have more classes, fewer classes. It all depends on what our enrollment will be for next year. We have 1 teacher per class, except for ICT. ICT is an integrated collaborative team teaching class. That is a class that has 2 teachers, one teacher certified in special education, and the other is a general education teacher. 60% of that class has typically developing general education students, and 40% of the class has students with special needs. Pretty much every school in the city has these classes. Our school usually has about 1 class per grade, sometimes 2, depending on how many students on the grade require that service. What to do now? So now, if you're applying to kindergarten, you can either apply through myschools.nyc or by phone, and the number is there. And then here is a website to get more information about that process. If you are applying 1st through 5th grade, you can email our secretary, Annette. And if you have questions, please email our wonderful parent coordinator, Magdalensky, and her email address is there. I just want to share some kindergarten memories with you these are kindergartners from last spring's shutdown. And you'll hear one of them is going to talk about how he only has to play, he doesn't have to work, which I think is fantastic because we want our kindergartners to learn through play. And I think that when kindergartners are playing, they are learning the most. They are doing their work of kindergarten. And I think that if you listen to my son when he was in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, I used to say, what did you learn in school? And he would say nothing. And I knew his teachers and I knew it wasn't true. But sometimes children say the darndest things, and we have to believe that what they're learning is very, very precious. And what he learned through his play, this little boy, was probably more wonderful and more precious than one could believe. So let's listen to the voices of children.
My favorite memory of kindergarten is work done because there's no work and we just get to play.
My favorite kindergarten memory is when we went to the aquarium and I saw the sharks breathing and their gills moving.
My favorite kindergarten memory was writing books and writing. I liked it because I liked drawing and writing.
And then the very last piece that I'm going to share with you is from our teachers. Last year, when we had to shut down our building, we didn't shut down our school, we shut down our building. We were very sad to have to lose one of the great 234 traditions, which is Field Day. Field Day is a time where the whole school gets together for the day in shifts and has this amazing community building time together where we do events that are collaborative and fun, and we run together and we exercise together, and it's so wonderful. Parents participate, teachers participate, the kids participate, and we didn't know what we were going to do. And the PE teacher said, we're going to figure this out. We're going to do a virtual field day. And they did. And it was really amazing. And so this was the culminating, a little clip of the culminating video from that time. And I just leave you with listening to the teachers and watching them, because I think that just watching a little clip of it speaks to what a special community PS 234 is. I hope that you will join us in the fall. We welcome you, and thank you for listening.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh.
See you soon.